Okay, so we're gonna do the graffiti name, and I want you to remember that the objective of this assignment is to mix all kinds of different drawing skills together. Some of them that we've learned in class, some of them that you do on your own. When dealing with materials, you get to choose your materials, but we're gonna start out with a pencil, and we're gonna have a ruler, and we're going to have an eraser, of course. So when you buy or get your materials to put together, these are your basic ones. And so we're going to get this started. And I'm not going to finish this. I'm going to get it to the point where then I'm going to start thinking about color application and stuff like that. So first off, when dealing with laying out a picture and stuff like that, you need to look at the whole paper. So when I'm looking at your artwork, I want to see the whole thing. I do not want you sitting there giving me a picture of something about this size. I will take you 25% off of this assignment because it's a whole piece of paper. So do not put a close-up when you're taking your pictures. The other part is laying it out so that it's in the center. So I'm going to give you a couple of tricks that graphic artists do when setting up their images. So graffiti is a name of scratching onto walls. It's something that was described in many centuries. I mean, it goes back to Pompeii, where people were writing directions to different places on walls, and I even heard about people doing graffitiing about parents complaining about their kids on the wall. It didn't become considered an illegal act until the last 50, 60 years, where they started talking about the graffiti as defacing property and things like that. There's a lot of factors in graffiti that is not just tagging. There's a lot of things going on. So we're going to do a name. It's would be considered a wild throw up, where you're throwing up your image. You can add to it. It doesn't have to be just your name. So I'm going to do some tricks. You're going to need a ruler, pencil, and eraser. So first off, I'm going to write my name. My name is Sarah. Now, Sarah is a 5-letter word. The center is an R. If I was to do another Sarah, there is another version of Sarah where it's like this. There is no center letter. It's in the middle. So you would so we're looking for the middle. And then we're going to put on the paper two parallel lines, or 3 parallel lines, depending on how you want to look at it, as a way to keep control of your font. Your font is the description of your letter. So I'm going to start out. You can go straight across, or you can tilt it. I'm going to tilt mine. You don't have to tilt it. You can go straight. Your font does not have to match mine. All I'm doing right now is kind of like, I could put one in the middle and then go above. Okay, let's try that. I'm going to put a line in the middle. Okay, and now I'm going to put a line above the middle. I'm just parallel lining. I just moved my ruler down to that line. And I draw that. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. So now, as you can tell, it's about the same, but not really. Okay, so the next thing is to figure out where my center is, which is about right here, I think. So then I'm going to just gently do my R, A, H, do it again, and then do my S. This is just regular writing, like if you were in kindergarten learning how to write your name. Now comes the part where you distort it. And so I'm going to kind of look at my name. I can put arrows on things and maybe change it. I don't have to make it lowercase. So I'm going to start out with my S. I do S's all the time because I have 2 S's. And so I'm going to make it bigger than this piece. So I'm gonna, this area, I'm gonna make it as big as I can possibly make it without going up and down and getting out of the spaces. So there's an S. I decided I wanted to do uppercase, so I'm going to go a little bit bigger, but not much, and I'm going to overlap a little bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my R. Now again, I'm not really distorting it that much, but I'm kind of like playing around with different things. And so then I'm going to make this a uppercase. Okay, so I'm going to keep distorting it. If I need to, I'll take a little bit of it away so that I don't get too confused. But you really don't need to spend your time erasing yet because you don't know what the end product is yet. I do want to do the arrow idea, so I'm going to go and bring this down and make an arrow. There's an arrow. I'm going to make an arrow. Do I want to put that one here? I'm going to do an arrow here. Do the same thing. Maybe I'll do one here. Make it overlap its back end. Like that. Maybe not. I don't like that one. I'll do something else. And then, let's see, where do I want to put? I can put little tiny, like that. And make these thick like that. And then I'm going to go, I think I'm going to do that. And I'm going to make that thicker. Do the same thing. Kind of make some things look like they fit together. So here we go, like that. Take a little bit of that out. Make the overlap go. No, I gotta do this. All right, so I've got some ideas. So then I wanna, if you wanna make something look puffy, you kind of make these little areas where it sticks out a little bit like that. Maybe or do I want to make them a little bit more? Okay, so if I wanted to make this more 3D, you need to make sure that it's 3D in the same direction. You don't go this way and that way, because if I was to take a box and make it 3D, I would do parallel lines like that, and then do a parallel line like that. If I was to do a letter, say the letter A, it's got interiors and exteriors. I would look at it and do the same thing, take the corners, go angle, angle. Now, this one is an interior, so I just keep going up like that. And now I have a 3D letter. So I'm gonna kind of do that. Maybe I'm gonna make this be like these. Go straight like that. Maybe bring this down a little bit more. There we go. And so I'm not going to outline this yet because I don't know. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go like that. So that is parallel to this. I'm going to do the same thing. This one's an S, so it's kind of tricky. probably not going to have, you won't see that part. It will go straight down like that. Okay. So I won't see one here. And I won't see one here because it's on the top, but I would see one here. I might come back and redo this, depending on how I change this. So then this is going to have its own parallel line there. And everything's that way. Everything's that way. Put this on top of that and bring it forward, because then backwards. That may be too much. Let's make this shorter. Okay. This. It's going to be behind. So I'm going to match that. Now, there's another way you can do 3D by just putting a shadow behind everything. So here would be an example. Here's a box. To make a shadow, I just kind of like create like this is like a little piece of paper. And that would be another way to make it look 3D. All right, so this is this way, and this just goes that way, and that goes that way. So to see what I've been doing, I'm going ahead and do a marker line so you can see what I've been working on, how it's been working. So let's see if this marker works. Because I think this is going to be the way it's going to look. I don't normally stop and outline before I've finished, but I kind of want to show you what this is looking like. Now there's lots of ways to create 3D work, so you might need to go and kind of look at that on your own, depending on what effect you're wanting to do. Okay, so you wouldn't see this side because it's showing on this side. And then there's this one, and that's behind. It's that way. Just getting that. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Now, so there we're at our first step of creating 3D effects. And so other things that you want to think about also, so I would just keep going on here, is what do I want to do with the background? And I, you know, with these arrows and stuff, I might decide that it's just on a wall, or maybe the wall is coming down. I need to make sure I can show that that's an R and not. So I'm just kind of like, you need to think about, there we go. Doesn't seem like I know what I'm doing, but I do. Okay, so then this one goes. Oh, it goes right here. I may just make the R going on top of that part of the A. H. So that one just goes like that. And you want to kind of make sure everything is about the same thickness. See, like that's not thick enough, and that's probably not thick enough. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that on this. You always put that little part right there in there. Everybody knows it's got an interior. Pretty good. And then get rid of most of the pencil lines so that way you don't have them interfering with your other ideas. So I have to think about where I'm currently at. I could just go in and kind of make some pencil lines for bricks and stuff. So, but I wonder, just because I'm gonna make it look like it was tagged on a broken wall. And now I'm gonna make some bricks. So depending on how wide I do my bricks will depend on how big this is. So now bricks are not just set up, they have a little space in between where the mortar is. So I'm going to do a little spot. Go back to being big. And I just don't go through where my zigzags are. So I'm putting it on a wall. Maybe you have it, some of you may have seen postcards of famous places where they use this technique, and you could do that. You can look at other people's graffitis. I'm not against that, but I do want you to think about, how is this reflecting you? So I'm gonna do some things where I think I'm gonna put some plants and stuff in it, because I am currently working in my garden, so I'm thinking about my garden all the time. Okay, so there's no spot there. I'll just go like that. Like that. So when I think about my design work, I'm usually thinking about what am I doing right now in real life, not just in my classroom. Interests. Because you can't really walk away from who you are when you're creating art. Okay, so that's going to be all here. I think I needed to do, oh, there we go. I don't need that line. I was getting confused. I'll do my mortar line. It's very important because then it doesn't look like brick. It just looks like somebody just painted a bunch of rectangles on the wall. The video that is the first one is very ornate and really like over the top, lots of stuff on it. You know, that's definitely in your A direction when it comes to how much stuff you need to put on there. But I do want you to think about more than just your name. So this is like plaster on the wall. So this is actually would be kind of like, maybe this is in my house. Like I did a little thing on my bedroom wall or something. So maybe I could put a couch or a bed down here. And so then I'm gonna go do that because it wouldn't make sense. I would have brick going through there, and so then the texture of my paint would be different. And I'm gonna do little lines to show that it's cracking, that it cracked off. I live in a house with all kinds of cracks in my house. So that's not going too far from my, so now I'm gonna make my bricks. Okay, so I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna play a trick on you. I'm gonna go like this. Oops. Skipped every other one. That one is. So I can make mistakes too. So then this one has to have mortar also. And then I do it again. I'm going to do the same lines. Sometimes I can make this being on the center like that. Just scoot it over just, I want to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to go like that. And I don't normally recommend it this way, but drawing on this side. Okay, so I would, now you can do it where you don't use the ruler and you just kind of go and hand draw it. So you could do it that way. But you probably would be not as accurate. I'm going to do that because they probably put my wall in pretty good. And you do the same thing for every other one. Do you need to put a wall? No. You can put a lattice. You could put, it could be floating in the sky. Okay, I'm going to show you a little trick to make these more looking like bricks than what these look like. And that is you kind of go like this. Because in real life, they are not square like this. They have a little bit of an angle to them. The brick itself is that way. And you don't have to use a ruler for this. You could easily do this where you hand draw every little brick line. Now, there's so much more I can do on this, but it's time for you to get started on your own and think about, what do you want yours to look like? And where does it go? What kind of materials are you going to use? Are you going to use the colored pencils? Are you going to use the markers? Are you going to use your watercolor paints? If you decide you want to do paints, use your heavier paper. If you're going to just use colored pencils and markers and stuff, you don't really need to have a big amount of, you don't have to have a really high-end paper. I'm gonna do a different size marker, like that. So it changes the way it looks. All right, so this is just getting you started. Let's work on it all week.